come up. But since we're at Combine Week, I decided to start doing some NFL draft combine things. And these are the top 5 positions in the draft, deepest positions in the NFL draft. Number 5, cornerback. And when you look at this cornerback class, it is chock full, and you could get really good value all the way down the line. You know, on the picture here, you got Joey Porter Jr. and Keely Ringo, and I think is that Eli Rush or Devin Witherspoon? Who's that there, Emery? I think it's Eli Rush from South Carolina, but Christian Gonzalez, Devin Witherspoon, Cam Smith, I'm sorry, Ringo, Clark Phillips, Emmanuel Forbes, Deontay Banks, all in the top 50, depending on the rankings. And then you've got guys like Jalen Jones and
A&M.
Yeah, from A&M.
I like him.
Travius Hodges-Tomlinson, most places don't even have him in the top 100. Yeah. And that's probably only because of his size. And maybe we're a little biased, but he's the Thorpe Award winner for a reason. So he's in there. And he's going to have to find a niche in the NFL, a defense that can use him well.
Well, find a niche in the NFL. There were thoughts he has to find a niche in high school. Had to find a niche in college. He's going to find. Now, again, his size is something to discuss, but the kid can play.
Yeah,
he can play.
He can play. I'm a huge Travius fan, but he goes out there and he measures it like 5'7". I mean, that's still 5'7".
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And I think that he was not much more than that when he got measured at whatever was a Senior Bowl or something like that. Maybe I thought I had seen a measurement for him at one of those All-Star games, but I can't recall exactly what it was. And maybe I'm misremembering. That's entirely possible. But I thought that it was a little bit on the low side, which I mean, you feel like the guy can play at any stage and any level, and it'll be a matter of just, finding the right fit. But I do think that is going to be to his detriment, at least as far as the getting drafted part goes.
Yeah. Also, I'm going to throw out here's a couple of diamonds here for you, especially if you're a Cowboys fan. Caillou Blue Kelly from Stanford, and Julius Brents, who you know from Kansas State. Julius Brents, Iowa transfer. He is like 6'2", I think. Caillou Blue Kelly, 6'1". Dan Quinn loves those tall corners. Cornerback is a position the Cowboys have to look at. Would not be surprised if they miss out, when they get to 26, if any of these guys like Ringo or whoever are gone, then if they wait later, maybe they can probably get one of those guys. I would not be surprised at all, especially Julius Brents, to see him be one of Dan Quinn's guys that he likes, just based on his size and what he does in coverage. Number 4 is wide receiver. I mean, you all know the big ones: Quentin Johnston, Jordan Addison, Jackson Smith-Njigba, Jalen Hyatt, Josh Downs. But Zay Flowers is a guy who I think can, in the right offense, be huge from Boston College. Marvin Mims, Cedric Tillman, Rashee Rice, Trey Palmer, I think might be the fastest guy in this entire draft from Nebraska.
He was dynamic for a bad team.
Yeah.
At the end, especially when they finally found a way to get him the ball more often. He is a dynamic and also a returner, too.
Yeah. Xavier Hutchinson in the top 100. And 3 guys I'm going to tell you to watch out for. A.T. Perry from Wake Forest, a big guy with some speed. Tank Dell from Houston is shooting up a lot of draft boards.
Should be.
People really like Tank Dell. And Jonathan Mingo from Ole Miss is someone who might be in that DK Metcalf, not as developed. I use that because they're the same school, but may fly under the radar, but he's got all the tools there at wide receiver as well. And so if you're an Ole Miss fan, you probably know what I'm talking about with Jonathan Mingo. In a team that didn't throw all that much last year, so that might have been hurting his stock a little bit as well. And look, in the top 150 is Charlie Jones from Purdue, who, if you watch Purdue at all, was fantastic all year long.
I don't know if he's going to end up, and I don't say this, but I don't know if he's going to end up as a slot receiver. All I remember is watching Purdue a couple of times, and all he does is make catches. And it's not because, they're throwing the ball 80 times a game. Braum was the coach, is that right?
Yeah, Aiden O'Connell, the quarterback.
But I'm telling you, I really like his toughness. That's a young man that I hope, and he gets an opportunity and maybe ends up playing for a long time.
Yeah. Number 3. Running back. And see, this is where it gets complicated. Craig, you asked about Bijan Robinson with Hellman yesterday. Bijan Robinson is someone who probably will fall outside this norm if teams don't value it. But if you think about it, if you can get out of Bijan Robinson and you're the right team, what the Cowboys got out of Zeke Elliott until this last year and a half, then it's worth it for one contract. You don't have to sign him to another contract, but the team I think with Bijan Robinson that would not shock me because Miles Sanders is a free agent and they have the 10th pick is the Eagles. Put Bijan Robinson on the Eagles right now with a couple of their other running backs who know the system and tell me that's not going to be fantastic. I mean, so he makes a lot of sense to me, but you also have guys like Jahmyr Gibbs, who I think very much is a modern NFL back. Devin A-Chain, who I think, even though he's a little bit smaller, can do a lot of different things and be in the right offense. Zach Charbonnet, Tank Bigsby, Israel Ibanaconda is probably a third or fourth round guy. He's out of Pittsburgh. This is a dude who multiple times in his career rushed for 300 yards in a game.
He put up some numbers. Yeah.
Kendry Miller's in that list.
Did you? And I'm sorry, but did you mention who's the guy from Minnesota?
Muhammad Ibrahim.
And I don't know his status.
He'll be way down. He'll be like a 6th round guy.
A grinder.
I like him. Deuce Vaughn is in this as well. I think Deuce Vaughn can be a great late pickup. And the other one I really do like. I like Chase Brown, and I like Kenny McIntosh from Georgia.
Okay.
Fits in like the Chiefs kind of offense thing. So.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see where Bijan goes, and it's a lot of names out there at the running back spot.
Yeah. Number 2, defensive end, and this one, the best player in the draft is probably Will Anderson, number 1, but Miles Murphy from Clemson, Tyree Wilson at Texas Tech, I think they're all 3 going to go in the top 10. Foskey from Notre Dame, but you get really down into, kind of the meat and potatoes in the middle rounds. Andre Carter, Derek Hall from Auburn, Keon White, Georgia Tech, Nolan Smith at Georgia. There's a lot of dudes who can get to the quarterback in this draft, and there's a lot of value at that position. Will McDonald also from Iowa State.
I'll tell you what, Tyree Wilson comes from West Rusk High School in a little town, New London, Texas, basically, right outside of Henderson, and was a compiler of stats. And I remember when he was being recruited, he has turned out, and he was just really good at Texas Tech. I wish the best for him. Young man's really good guy. I talked to him on the phone after their season ended for a little bit. Wish him the best of luck.
Started with A&M.
Man.
Signed with A&M.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
I did not know
Started with them and then went to the transfer portal and landed at Tech. But, he's going to be a top probably 10-ish, 15-ish at worst, I would think, type of guy based on what I've seen so far, and haven't got heavy into the draft stuff. But I mean, going back to the Bijan thing, I've seen a lot of that Eagles stuff too, and I think a lot of that's wishful thinking right now. I think a ton of that is just that's the sexy pick to make. It's like Cowboys fans of like, do we need a running back? No, but what would the most fun pick be? It'd be Bijan Robinson. That would be the most fun pick. But I don't know that Bijan goes that high, but shoot, man, I mean, it might be too much to pass up if he'll be sitting there at 12, you would think, but that would be nasty. Him and Jalen Hurts together in a backfield would be something else. But
and the Eagles are very practical too. I mean,
Well, we talked about this. They have 3 running backs, and Sanders was a highly thought of guy. But they had 3 running backs. They had a 3-headed monster. All of them had perfect roles, and they did them well. Whether it was Boston Scott, or
Kenny
you had
Gainwell,
Gainwell. I mean, he was fantastic whenever he had the chance, and maybe they just stay that way.
Oh yeah, and look, they're gonna. Miles Sanders is a free agent. They're gonna let him walk. Yeah. So that's why I think that's a possibility. And number 1, and I don't know if this has ever maybe been the case in any draft ever, but there are tight ends, and I do think this is sometimes, the NFL starts a trend that then falls down to college football. And I don't know how long this is going to last, but the Gronk, Travis Kelce tight ends of the world where coaches clearly saw what those guys were doing and then said, well, hey, we've probably got a guy we can teach to do this. And then you've got Michael Mayer of Notre Dame. Darnell Washington at Georgia is 6'7", and maybe not
not even the best tight end.
Not even the best tight end.
Who knows about the pros?
Yeah, he's a pretty good straight line runner, but in the NFL, they're not going to ask Darnell Washington to do much but get first downs and score in the red zone. So a team that needs to score in the red zone should probably consider him. Luke Musgrave at Oregon State is a guy who's flies under the radar because he's at Oregon State, but he can burn at 255 pounds. Dalton Kincaid at Utah is essentially a wide receiver playing tight end, and I think he'll be great. Plus, Cameron Latu at Alabama, Sam Laporta at Iowa. There's a lot of it. And a guy late you need to watch out for is Will Mallory at Miami. Super athletic. Would have probably really fit the mold of those, Jeremy Shockey, Kellen Winslow, Miami tight ends back in the day. Wrong place, wrong time for him at Miami right now with the way that their offense is moving, but a better quarterback, and this is a guy who's probably rated above, the 150 level in most people's charts. But this is a deep draft that you can find value almost in every round at tight end. So if you're a team that needs one, and there are several that do, the Cowboys may be even among them, but the Ravens have done well finding tight ends. They don't need one, but the Bills could use one. Good teams need a good tight end.
But all of them, he's a good player. The guy from Notre Dame, that's a monstrous player. Where would Bowers come out if he came out, if he was
he would be above all of them because he can just do so many things. He's so unique.
Yeah. All right, Paul, thank you very much. We appreciate it. Emery Winter, Jack McKenzie, and Garrett Ross, we appreciate you. Thanks to the chat room. Just went in.